for families of homicide victims. We're very grateful for the support from the mayor's office, and our office in the Office of Violence Prevention and Behavioral Health in the Chicago Department of Public Health serves as the administrator for that particular grant. We were able to, with the support of a steering committee led by city department leaders, partner in, I think, a very innovative way with a group that has been working in Chicago for over 4 years, a group that we consider content experts, Chicago Citizens for Change, to develop within that program what is called Chicago Survivors. So you will hear a lot about Chicago Survivors. That group is designed now to ensure that there is a very short 4-hour window response for families of homicide victims, and then an extended period of support to assist those family members as they really try to regain some level of productivity. That's really all that I'm going to talk about now. I'm going to actually turn the remainder of this time over to our program partners. You will not hear from Thresholds today, but I do want to mention that Thresholds serves as a business partner within this collaborative as well, ensuring that as an incubator that we're building out the program capacity for Chicago survivors and with them, as well as really informing us on the mental health kind of companion issues as we move forward. So I want to switch seats with Michael Simmons and allow him to participate on the panel.
I'm Susan Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of Chicago Survivors, and I'm here with crisis responder Michael Simmons and our Family Support Specialist Natividad Ramirez, and we're going to walk you through what our homicide response program is like. Our experienced and compassionate staff meet with families at the worst moment in their lives. I'd like to ask our staff to please stand briefly. Accompany families through unfamiliar systems, unwanted experiences, and unwelcome feelings, so that no one has to live beyond violent loss alone. Our crisis responders offer immediate crisis intervention services and support at the crime scene, at the hospital or trauma center, at the police station, at the medical examiner's office, at the funeral home, wherever they're needed. Crisis responders also advocate for surviving family members' rights as crime victims. Our family support specialists provide continuing care and support for surviving family members, adults, children, and youth for at least 6 months, including supportive counseling, coping tools, and comprehensive referral services. And we have many partners in this room and across the city with whom we do referrals. After 6 months, our community of survivors provides a peer community for empathy, education, and continued support, including ongoing workshops, social events with other survivors, memorial events, and anti-violence advocacy opportunities. We still provide targeted social services as requested during that time. We recognize that the systems that are involved after homicide are not as sensitive to our family's experience or needs as they can be. So we also offer training to law enforcement, the medical examiner's office, the prosecutors in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and hospital emergency departments. A few things that we've learned about our population. More than 70% of victims of homicide have no arrest record. Nearly 10% of cases involve domestic violence. 75% of victims leave behind minor children and/or minor siblings. 95% or more of survivors experience PTSD symptoms. For most of our families, many of whom are low income, the cost of their loved one's funeral and burial is the single greatest expense they will ever incur. And common survivor experiences include depression, complicated grief, poly-victimization, job loss, financial instability, social isolation, homelessness, youth at risk, chronic health issues, and premature death. As we offered these services, we wanted to make sure that you would hear the voices of the recipients of our services. So we prepared a video. We're very grateful to the city for their leadership in this, in which survivors share their own experiences. Attempt to list our services and expose you to our model. What we'd like to do now is take you through a fictionalized case and very briefly walk you through those first 6 months following homicide. So you may think that you recognize bits and pieces of this, but this case is entirely fictionalized. It's a composite of the kinds of things that we deal with on a daily basis. Friday afternoon, May 22nd at 3:42 p.m., Natalie Rosario, age 23, was shot in the right temple and killed at an intersection in her neighborhood less than 4 blocks from her home. She was in the passenger seat of her younger brother Robert's car as they drove westbound through the intersection. Her brother had picked her up after a job interview. Robert, age 19, was not injured. Neither Natalie nor Robert is believed to have been the target. Witnesses reported that a loud dispute between 2 groups of teenagers on opposite sides of the street turned violent. A young man on the southwest corner was also shot in the calf and was taken to the hospital. Natalie died instantly at the scene. Police arrived quickly and questioned Robert along with many bystanders. With more than 15 people at a busy intersection, no one came forward to identify the shooter. By the time Robert tried to call his mother Delia, Robert's younger brother Miles, age 14, had already received a text from a friend at the scene saying that Natalie had been shot. Delia, Miles, and Delia's younger son, Louis, age 12, ran to the scene. Delia ran right through the police perimeter. Police prevented her from getting to her daughter's body, still in the car, while people in a gathering crowd began shouting, "She's the mom, let her go." A few minutes later, Chicago Survivors crisis responder Michael Simmons, who was dispatched through the City of Chicago Police Department Crime Prevention and Information Center, arrived at the scene.
I recognized the sergeant at the scene, and she recognized me. She nodded in the direction of Delia, who was kneeling on the ground. Her 3 sons standing huddled together by her. A beat cop and a detective stood close by. As I approached, another man who had been standing near the boys stepped between Delia and me. My ID was around my neck. I held it up saying, "I'm Michael Simmons. I'm a crisis responder. I'm here to assist the family." "I'm the Uncle Charles Summers," he said. I shook his hand. "I'm so sorry this happened." I said, "This is Mom," I asked. He nodded. I knelt down in front of Delia so she could see me easily. I made sure she could see my ID, and I said, "Ma'am, I'm Michael. I'm here to help you." "They shot my baby," she said. And she stood up very quickly and screamed, "They won't let me see her." For a moment, it seemed she was going to bolt towards the car. "I'm sorry, you can't go over there," I said softly, and she collapsed in my arms. Her brother Charles stepped in to comfort her and I explained to both of them that the evidence technicians needed to get all the evidence from the car before their loved one could be taken to the medical examiner's office. I explained who would move her body, where it would go, and how her body would be treated. It would be tomorrow before they would be able to identify her at the medical examiner's office. Charles and Delia and her sons stay in his home that night. "We don't need them here," Charles said, looking at a bevy of reporters and cameras approaching. I kept the family moving and spoke directly to the reporters. The family will not be making a statement. Delia, Robert, and Louis left in Charles's car. Miles and I stopped to secure Delia's apartment and then drove to Charles and his wife to Jeanette's home. That night, Delia was in shock. I explained to Charles and Jeanette what Chicago Survivors does. I told them that in the state of Illinois, Delia and her sons are considered crime victims, and as a crime victim, they had rights, and that I would help to protect those rights. "There are things you're going to need," I said, "but we will be right here with you. You are not alone. I'm going to give you this family packet of useful information, but you don't need to look at it now. Here is my card. You can call me anytime, and we have a 24-hour hotline if you need anything," I said. I explained that someone needed to stay with her for at least the next 24 hours. I took down their cell phone numbers, and I said I would come back in the morning, that there was nothing else that they they needed to do tonight. But before I left, I wanted to speak to Delia's sons. They were in the kitchen. Although they had not hinted at retaliation, I spoke with them frankly about the normal feeling that people, that they have need to find out who did this and to take action and to get justice for their family. You might want to do something because of Natalie, but remember that hurting someone else cannot bring Natalie back. And if you hurt someone else and you get arrested, it would hurt your mother all over again to be losing you. And it wouldn't honor the memory of your sister. In the meantime, if you do hear anything, there are things we can do. So let me know immediately. And also gave them my card. The next day I returned. I went over what is called our family file. Charles and I went together to the medical examiner's office to identify Natalie's body. Robert asked me about the car, which he said he needed for work, and it is in his name. I called the detective about the car and the case in general, and he came by while I was there. On Monday, I arrived with my colleague, Natalie, our lead family support specialist, for a warm transfer of care. I introduced Natalie and explained that she would support them for the next 6 months. And while I'd still be around, I needed to be available to respond to new families. Robert and I went to pick up his car from the impound and arranged to get it cleaned up and the shattered window replaced. Jeanette and Delia went with Natalie to the funeral home.
As a lead family support specialist, I work with Delia to report to the school that the children would be out of school for a couple of days. And Delia also informed her employer that she would need time off, and she also explained why. They were a small business and are not bound by the family leave act, but offered to give her some time. We went to the funeral home where I helped them keep the cost of the funeral within the range that would be reimbursed by the Illinois Victim Compensation. We started the crime victim compensation application, and over time, I helped her with the documentation needed to be reimbursed. After the funeral, I continued to work with Delia and her family. I was told that Natalie had a 4-year-old son, Nathan, whose father had died in a car accident the previous spring. The two grandmothers split his care, so I referred them to legal aid to formalize guardianship for him and to counsel them about grandparents' visitations. Minor Nathan was also referred to trauma-informed play therapy. Robert went back to work and Wes went back to school, but 14-year-old Miles refused to go because he was being bullied. Delia and I met with the school counselor. She and Aunt Jeanette helped him complete assignments at home, and a process began for him to transfer to another school. We enrolled him in our 8-week support group curriculum, and although at the beginning he resisted, he is now expressing interest in becoming a peer leader. Delia had trouble with panic attacks when she tried to go back to work, but she and I met with her boss, and with supportive counseling from me and modest